What is happening, guys? Welcome back to Rule of Two Review, and today let's talk a little bit more about the Wii U. So this is kind of something that I'm treating as more of a follow-up to my most recent video a few days ago, where I made a video discussing the Wii U, how its perceived failure is probably going to be shaping Nintendo and a lot of their decisions going forward, especially with their next machine, the NX, and whatever that turns into. I feel like a lot of what's happened with the Wii U, the good and the bad, mostly the bad, is probably going to be helping Nintendo make what are hopefully going to be smarter and better decisions going forward, which was a hard thing to say and a hard thing to talk about, coming from someone who, as you know, is a huge fan of the Wii U. I had to acknowledge what's going on with it, the mistakes that they made, and hope that they make better decisions and a better machine going forward because of it. Now, the reason I'm making this quick video today and following up on that idea is, in that conversation, in the comment section, a lot of people made some points. It's actually a very good point, but it's sparking this conversation in a different direction. They made a very good point that Nintendo did say at some point that the NX and their next machine is not actually supposed to be a true replacement for the Wii U. Making it sound as though the Wii U would be supported, well into the life cycle of the NX and whatever is happening there, and that there's no reason to expect games for the Wii U to stop or support for the Wii U to stop even after the NX is released. So Nintendo did say that. I think even Satoru Iwata was the first person who said that well over a year ago, I believe. And a good amount of people were quick to jump on that point and bring that up in the comment sections, which I do certainly appreciate, because you are correct. That was something stated by Nintendo at some point, and that sounded very, very good. Now, what I want to talk about real quick in this video today is the idea of if Nintendo will actually support the Wii U into the NX's life cycle. And I think that's, where we kind of differ, because I will absolutely acknowledge that there was a couple of times where Nintendo did try to get that idea across to us and say that this isn't a replacement for the Wii U, and the Wii U won't, and the Wii U and support for the Wii U won't really stop as soon as the NX comes out, and things of that nature. They were saying that a year ago. But honestly, I don't really know that I believe that. I understand why in my last video, it was something that felt important for a couple of people to point out. And it was important. I actually was glad that I was reminded of it, and anyone who might have watched the video and stumbled upon the comments could read that stuff and be reminded of that point too and wonder how it fits into the conversation. I absolutely appreciate it. But my personal take on that is I just don't know that it's true. It's entirely possible that Nintendo at that time had planned on trying to support the Wii U into the NX's life, or even now, maybe they still kind of wonder if there's a way to do that. But I'm willing to bet that as we get farther and farther along into this whole weird period where the Wii U only has a couple of games coming out still that we know of, and it seems like there's no real support after The Legend of Zelda comes out, and we know that at some point this year, Nintendo will show us the NX, and we don't know if it's going to come out this year or next year, but we know that it's on its way. It is somewhere in our pretty near future. I just feel like, at this point, I don't know that Nintendo will actually find any reasons to support the Wii U. And it's difficult because I try to look inside my own brain and wonder, well, should they support the Wii U or should they not? I want them to support the Wii U, but my thing is I only want them to support the Wii U if it's the console that they're actually making, if it's what their console currently is. And it seems like, I know that they've said that the NX isn't supposed to be a replacement for the Wii U, and that sounds well and good, and I certainly hope that somehow turns out to be true, but I just don't think that it's going to be. Now, we do live in a world where, because Nintendo does crazy things and the NX is such a mystery and all the rumors make it seem like it's like the most unique console we've ever seen, maybe it does come out. And I even talked about this a very, very, very long time ago, year and a half ago or so, when these rumors first started coming out about the NX. I discussed this concept that maybe whatever the NX turns out to be, maybe, I don't know how to phrase it. Maybe the words that they were saying were more true than I'm giving them credit. Maybe when they say it's not just a replacement for a console and for the Nintendo 3DS, it's something totally different. Maybe that was more accurate than we realize now, and maybe it's not even just a home machine. Maybe it's not a box that plugs into your TV. Maybe it's some sort of completely new device and new way to interact with a gaming machine in a way that we aren't thinking of, in the way that it doesn't become a home console replacement, so that the Wii U needs to continue and the 3DS needs to continue, and the NX actually becomes what over a decade ago they talked about as a third pillar, for anyone who remembers that back in 2003 and 2004 or whatever. Maybe that's what it actually turns out to be. And if that's the case, then I could see a world where the Wii U would continue to get support because the Wii U would be their home console, the 3DS would be their handheld, and the NX would be their whatever the hell else it is, a PC duplication box or some sort of crazy thing that we just don't even know. So if that is what the NX turns out to be, and it's not actually a home console that plugs into your TV and where they're not going to release their next Metroids and Zeldas and Marios and it's something totally different, then yeah, they'll continue to support the Wii U. But I don't think that's the case. I think the NX is going to be a box that accepts disc games that we buy from stores like GameStop and Best Buy, and it plugs into your TV, it has a controller, and we play video games. That's what I think the NX is going to be. So going off that assumption that I'm making, and yes, it is just my assumption, probably a pretty damned good assumption, but it is exactly just that, my assumption. Going off that assumption, I feel like even if it sounds nice and it sounds romantic and it sounds perfect for the consumer, that Nintendo would say we're not going to stop supporting the Wii U and the NX will just be this brand new thing and the Wii U is going to continue, I don't think that that's going to be the smart decision. I don't think that that's what we're going to see happen. I feel like Nintendo maybe says that to make everyone feel good, and maybe they even want to believe it internally, but I can't imagine that this machine, which very sadly has not sold very well, only has 13 million units, and if they come out with this NX, and let's say the NX is even a big hit, there's actually no real reason for them to consider supporting the Wii U still. Like, I would love it, you guys. I'm not trying to crap on the Wii U. You've heard me talk about how much I love it, so you know I'm trying to bash the system or bash Nintendo, but it literally does not make monetary, feasible, smart business sense if the NX comes out, if it's great, and if it sells not even just great, if it sells even pretty well. There's no reason for them to support their failing Wii U. No one's going to see the Wii U as the future. No consumer is going to think about, oh, the Wii U, what about the Wii U, what about the Wii U? Everyone will be excited about that new machine. You got to be able to kind of put your mindset in the mind. You have to be able to put yourself in that mindset of when the system comes out, when the hype finally builds, we see what it is, and the thing finally releases. Everyone and their mom's just going to want to go buy that. No one will sadly be thinking about the Wii U. But you know what? That's how it always is. With the rare exception of the PS3 and the 360, that's how console cycles always go. And maybe the younger guys out there aren't familiar with that because you haven't lived through many console cycle changes. But for those of us who are old enough to have done this a couple of times, you know, I remember the 8-bit into 16-bit, 16-bit into 32, and then the 64-bit, and then that era into the 6th gen, 6th into 7th, and 7th into 8th. Like, that's how many times I've freaking done this. I've been to this rodeo many times. And typically, your previous generation systems, they go away. I mean, they become really cheap. They become discounted. People buy them for their young kids who don't really care about games. But, you know, the vast majority of the gaming public, they start buying the new stuff and the old stuff goes away. And that's just the way it goes. And it's not even a bad thing. That's progression. That's progression, baby. You know, that's how things go. So the Wii U, for all intents and purposes, should go away. And there's no reason for Nintendo supporting it. Now, if they did continue to support it, you guys, I would love it. I would love to be wrong. I'd love to be surprised and be like, wow, I guess I was wrong. Nintendo really is still making Wii U games even after the NX comes out and it's this big hit. And everyone wants to make games for that. Somehow they're managing to still make games for the Wii U. That would be great. Let me please be wrong there. But I feel pretty good that I'm not going to be wrong, you know? The idea, like I said, it sounds romantic and wonderful for them to say, oh, we're just going to introduce the NX into the climate, and the Wii U and the 3DS are going to continue and as if nothing else happened, and we'll continue to support them. You know, I know that sounds good, but it reminds me of, like I referenced earlier, the third pillar concept, where for any of you maybe younger guys who don't know, in 2004, when the original DS was getting introduced, that was when the Game Boy Advance and the Game Boy Advance SP and stuff was like the hugest, biggest thing ever, man. It was a big deal, great machine, selling like crazy. Pokemon was going nuts. Everyone was buying SPs. I had like 3 SPs. It was crazy. And, you know, the GameCube was getting kind of near the end of its life, and it was, you know, a lot of us loved that machine, but it wasn't a huge hit. It was an okay hit, but not a huge hit. And the DS came along, and Nintendo was trying to tell everyone, hey, what we're doing with the DS is we're trying to disrupt the market. We're introducing what Nintendo is going to consider a third pillar, where we use the 3 pillars of the GameCube, the Game Boy Advance, and this new Nintendo DS, and those are going to be the 3 pillars that we support and keep Nintendo an operating gaming company. And that was really a cool idea, and everyone was very excited. And you know what? Didn't turn out to be true. The Game Boy Advance went away very, very quickly. The DS was a huge hit. And, you know, within a year or two, everyone and their mom was supporting the DS, and no one was really making Game Boy games. And Nintendo, they gave one last-ditch effort with the Game Boy Micro, but really no one, including Nintendo, was supporting the Game Boys, so it went away. And the whole third pillar concept turned out to be a ruse. It wasn't really true. Whether or not that was Nintendo's strategy all along was to kind of fake it and pretend like they were doing this third pillar thing when really they wanted to just transfer from the Game Boy to the DS, or whether or not it just failed altogether and it just turned out that no one had a reason to make Game Boy games, it showed that the concept really probably doesn't work. And I just can't imagine how it could work now as well. If Nintendo is making this NX thing, and this next console turns out to be an actual video game console that does connect to your TV with a controller that you play video games on, and that's the machine that Nintendo is going to make their new Mario and their new Zelda and their new Metroid and everything on, I'm telling you guys, that means that the Wii U will go away. And I don't think that there is any reason to believe that Nintendo will support the Wii U into that machine's life cycle. Other than any games that started development before the NX was ready to go, that they're just kind of finishing, and like, let's say Pikmin 4 is a game that they're so far in development on that by the time the NX comes out, that game is still basically ready to go on the Wii U. Maybe, yes, they'll release that still as a Wii U game, and any other games that maybe started that way, but for the most part, I think within a year, you're going to see no more Wii U games. It'll be probably officially retired. The system did not do well enough to warrant them supporting it anymore. And that is my theory. So, in summary, this is just my theory, and remember, I'm coming at this from the point of I would love to be wrong. I love the Wii U. I want them to continue to support it. Everyone made a fantastic point. I totally had forgotten that Nintendo had said this a long time ago, that it's not supposed to replace the Wii U, and we should expect to see Wii U games to still come after their next machine releases. I'm glad you guys pointed that out, because I forgot it, and it was a very worthy part of this conversation, and it was so worthy that I wanted to make this other follow-up video and kind of discuss it for another 10 or 15 minutes here with you guys. But, in thinking about it and in factoring in those words and that idea into what seems to be happening with Nintendo and whatever the NX turns out to be, I feel like it's just not going to happen. It sounds great. Like I said, I want to be wrong, but I don't think it's going to happen. My theory is Nintendo will abandon the Wii U, retire it, I should say, within a year of the NX coming out. And even faster if the NX is a huge hit. If it's a huge hit, forget about it. We're not going to see Wii U games anymore, and it's going to be too bad. I'm going to always keep my Wii U because I have such an amazing library. Unless the NX is backwards compatible and you use as a gamepad, then I would actually probably trade my Wii U in. But other than that, I'm going to keep my Wii U because it's a great machine with an amazing library. And these 25 games or whatever I have, I always want to have them. So anyway, I'm going to shut up here and I'll end the video. So those are my thoughts, and again, my theory. So before anyone gets all pissed off at me like I'm crapping on the Wii U and Nintendo, remember that I'm not doing those things, and this is just my theory, and I only say this in support of Nintendo and whatever they may do in the future. So that's what's going on, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks for everyone in the comments section of that last video who brought up that point. It was a very good point. And I do want to hear what you guys have to say and what you think about this idea. Do you still truly believe that Nintendo will deliver on their promise from a year ago and continue to support the Wii U into the NX's life cycle? Or are you maybe more on my side where you think that probably either wasn't true, or Nintendo maybe thought it at the time but is realizing it won't make sense, and once the NX comes out, they'll retire the Wii U pretty quickly? You guys tell me what you think. Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in, guys. I super appreciate it. This is Rob of Rule to Review, and I'll catch you next time on another video.